Okay, grade 11, we're going to go over how to set up a plate to check for antibiotic resistance. So this starts off the same way as you've done other plates before. You have to set up your workspace. You have to make sure that you've got goggles and gloves on, plus we have aprons now that I'd like you to put on. And you need to set up your workspace on your heat mat with your Bunsen burner, your plate, your swab, and this little Eppendorf tube of bacteria that you're going to have there. And the very first thing you need to do is make sure that you turn on your Bunsen burner. It'll be a safety flame first, but when you are working with it, you need to turn it, of course, onto turbo and have a blue flame to work under. Now, the steps to doing it is pretty simple. Make sure you're working under your blue flame. Get your swab and put it into your Eppendorf tube and get a decent amount of bacteria on your Eppendorf tube. Close the tube up and put it back in the little holder that you have there so it doesn't fall over. And then open up your plate slightly straight under the flame so that you're not going to get anything else in it. I often find holding it upside down is helpful because that means nothing from the air is going to fall into it. And you need to swab over that plate to create a lawn. Now when you create a lawn, remember, you've got to go straight over your plate, turn it on an angle like 90 degrees and go over it again so that you get a pretty even lawn across your entire plate of that bacteria. And once you've got a good lawn over that plate, pop it down on its lid so that it's upside down. Put the swab back in its packet and make sure it's sealed up. Now make sure on the bottom of your plate that you have your name, the name of the bacteria, the date, and you sign it. Remember, please label around the edge of your plate, not over the middle of your plate, because we want to be able to see the growth of the bacteria. You need to repeat that with the rest of the plates you have so that you have all of those plates inoculated. Don't seal the plates yet because we now have to add on some bacterial rings. So onto this plate here, you're going to be doing this with half of your plates because the other half we're going to be testing with some natural antibiotics next lesson. Half of the plates you're going to let little rings, and they sort of look like this. They have little circles on them like that with antibiotics in them so that we can see whether that antibiotic affects the growth of the bacteria on the plate. You're going to take this little ring here with your tweezers very carefully and put it down into the middle of your plate here. So it's going to end up looking something like that. And once you've got that little antibiotic ring in your plate, you then seal the plate up, and we then check for the growth of the bacteria. We put it in a little incubator to incubate it at 37 degrees because this little bacteria here loves living in our bodies, and therefore that's its ideal growth environment. And we're going to be looking to see whether the bacteria around the antibiotic can grow or whether their growth is inhibited or not. And the greater the inhibition, the better that antibiotic is working, because that antibiotic in that little circle there will diffuse into the agar as it sits there, and if the bacteria don't like it, they won't grow in that area. Now, the last thing that we're going to be doing next lesson is, instead of having this little ring, we're going to actually be cutting holes in our agar plates like this with the metal tube. And in those little holes, we're going to be putting natural antibiotics to see if they affect the growth of the agar. We're going to try things like tea tree oil, the special antibiotic honey, soap, anything like that, to see if it has an effect on the growth of the bacteria on the plates. So that's what the other half of the plates are going to be used for.